Hello and welcome to Spectrum TV News at 12. I am Uyai Aniek and coming to you live from Uyo, the capital area. Let's take a look at the major stories. President Buhari White House seeks approval for $800 million loan, passage of Federal Fire Service Bill. FEC approves $4.7 billion for development of Ondo, Snake Island, Burutu ports. Plus, Chinese leader Xi Jinping says Russia's war in Ukraine is weakening its influence in Central Asia, aims to fill void. We'll bring you details. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. First in the news this afternoon is Nigeria's leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has sought the House of Representatives' approval for $800 million loan to finance the National Social Safety Network program. The request was contained in a letter read by the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, at the plenary. The President also transmitted to the House the Federal Fire and Rescue Service Establishment Bill 2022 for consideration and approval. Away from that, the Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved $4.713 billion for development of port projects in Lagos, Ondo, and Delta states. The council meeting, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House, Abuja, gave the go-ahead for the development of Ondo multi-purpose port in Ilaje, Snake Island in Lagos, and Burutu in Delta State. Briefing newsmen after the meeting, Minister of State for Transportation Ademola Adoroye said the projects would be executed through public private over $1 billion and would be concessioned for a period of 50 years, with the accruals to the concessionaire and the federal government expected to be $50 billion and $2.6 billion respectively. Meanwhile, the federal government says the Federal Ministry of Aviation has been renamed as the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace of Nigeria. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, made the announcement such that aviation and aerospace were intertwined and Nigeria had the need to proactively set its policies to align with future occurrence. The minister linked the development to the establishment of the African Aerospace and Aviation University in Abuja.
Federal Ministry of Aviation name has been changed because it is on exclusive list, just like Foreign Affairs Ministry is on exclusive list. There is no Foreign Affairs Ministry of Katsina. So the ministry will be called Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace. Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace of Nigeria. And it's important that we become proactive and set our policies, regulations, and rules to be in tandem with what is obviously coming.
Elsewhere, the Federal Ministry of Works has shut down Ijora-Olokpa Bridge in Lagos State for the safety of the public over damage caused by vandals. This was disclosed in a statement by Hakeem Bello, the spokesman for the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, identifying the failed section as the Ijora-Olokpa Inward Ijora-Oloye Apapa. Bello said the roads leading directly to the bridge, such as Coastal Inward Echo Bridge and Qatar Bridge descent inward Ijora Oloye had, as a result, been closed to traffic from Tuesday night. The statement added that the federal government therefore directed of the deck from underneath, which led to the failure of a section of the bridge. In the meantime, the federal government has moved to clear the alleged misinformation concerning the implementation of the Nigeria Chairman's Presidential Power Initiative (PPI) project, stressing that 80% of equipment needed for the pilot project was already available in the country. In a statement by the Managing Director of FGN Power Company, the Special Purpose Vehicle (SPV) for the execution of the project, Kenny Anuwe, the federal government explained that it remains committed to implementing the game-changing deal. Anuwe explained that the pilot project remains a quick-win intervention strategy, which will unlock immediate substations across the country. He stressed that both the federal government and Siemens AG, as well as Siemens Energy, have remained unswerving in their commitments to the project. According to him, the project is intended to resolve capacity deficits in metering infrastructure, transmission and distribution, end-to-end systems constraint, power systems and network development studies, and securing financing for the entire project implementation. From the red chambers, the Senate has urged the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) to release the $717,478,606 airlines funds trapped in the country. The Red Chamber also called on the CBN to allocate $25 million to airlines operating in Nigeria, and Chairman of the Senate Committee on Aviation, Biodun Olujimi. The Senate also called on the federal government to urgently reverse the current trend of increasing airlines' blocked funds in Nigeria, as well as direct the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele to pay up the blocked funds to the affected airlines. In a separate development, the Managing Director, Niger Delta Development Commission, Samuel Ogboko, has described the Senate's passage of the Commission's budget for 2023 as a significant milestone in developing the Niger Delta region. The budget, which amounted to 876 billion naira, was passed on Tuesday after the Senate requested further information and clarification on the Bitoya Bosade. The NDDC boss said the budget would enable the Commission to continue providing critical infrastructure and services to the people in the region. He pledged to ensure that the funds allocated in the budget were used judiciously and through due process, just as he assured that the Commission's project would be completed on time and to the petrochemical company set for inauguration on the 22nd of May can create a $21 billion market for Nigeria's crude oil. In a brief by the organization, it further noted that the facility could meet all the fuel needs of Nigeria, including petrol, diesel, jet fuel, and polypropylene, as well as provide loading facilities that could accommodate about 2,000, had long relied on imported refined petroleum products, resulting in economic vulnerability and dependence. NESG said the Dangote refinery and petrochemical company aimed to change the paradigm. Moving now to Africa, where Kenyan President William Ruto has called out the two warring Sudanese generals, urging them to stop the fighting that has entered its second month. The Kenyan leader, who has been tasked by a regional bloc, IGAD, together with other heads to help in reconciling Sudan's rival sides, said military capacity was for battling criminals and terrorists and not for fighting children and women. Ruto, however, blamed African states for lacking the capacity to stop the war in Sudan, accusing that the peace and security of Sudan is funded by others. Reports say intense battles in the capital Khartoum and the cities of Bari and Omdurman have raged despite Saudi and U.S. brokered talks between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) in Jeddah, aimed at securing humanitarian access and a ceasefire. Still in Africa, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) has approved a $3 billion bailout program aimed at alleviating Ghana's economic crisis. The country's information minister Kojo Nkrumah said the 3-year extended credit facility was approved in Washington, D.C. Nkrumah noted that the West local currency, the cedi, against the US dollar. According to him, it is expected that $600 million, the first batch of the loan, will be remitted to Ghana as soon as possible. Moving now to the foreign scene, Chinese leader Xi Jinping is reportedly rolling out the red carpet for of influence. Reports say the leaders of Kazakhstan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan are gathering in the central Chinese city of Xi'an for a summit that will begin today. According to reports, it is the first in-person meeting of the heads of state together with China since the established diplomatic relations after the fall of the Soviet Union. The two-day event is also a play from Beijing to expand its influence in Central Asia, where Russia, now distracted by its debilitating and unsuccessful invasion of Ukraine, has long been the dominant great power partner. Still on the foreign scene, Ukrainian military officials have said that at least one person was killed and 2 others wounded after a Russian missile strike in the southern Ukrainian port city of Odessa. Ukraine's Operational Command South said in a statement that the Russia attack was carried out using various missiles from different directions, noting that 29 out of 30 cruise missiles launched by the Russians were destroyed by air defense, but unfortunately an industrial infrastructure was hit. The Air Force also claimed to have shot down 2 attack drones and 2 reconnaissance drones flown by the Russia. Still to come in the news. Manchester City beats Real Madrid to reach Champions League final. Do stay with us for details after the break. In business, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) has said that the removal of trade barriers among African countries will help lift 50 million people out of poverty. The IMF said this in its recent report titled Trade Integration in Africa, Unleashing the Continent's Potential in a Changing World. The report stated that the trade barrier removal would increase median goods trade between African countries by 53% and would also increase to the rest of the world by 15%. The Washington, D.C.-based body added that successful implementation Shippers Council says it has saved 2.7 billion naira between 2020 and 2022. The council, in its newsletter, said the fund could have been lost to shipping companies and terminal operators through demurrages, noting that during the period under review, it recorded a total of 1,727 complaints. The Shippers Council urged importers and exporters to ensure that they engage professional logistics service providers to handle the clearing and delivery processes of their cargoes to ensure that all containers are returned promptly without accruing demurrage or detention charges. Now in health, the federal government says it has instituted strategic interventions at the tertiary, secondary and primary health care levels to screen. The Minister of Health, Dr. Sage Ehanire, who made this known in Abuja during the commemoration of this year's World Hypertension Day, noted that hypertension is responsible for significant morbidity and mortality in the country. Ehanire, who was represented by the Director of Public Health at the Ministry, Dr. Moranike Alex Okor, added that hypertension is the leading cardiovascular disease and it affects low and middle income countries, which accounts for about 80% of the global cardiovascular disease burden. Still in health, the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, NPHCDA, has decried inadequate human resources in the primary health care centers, noting that there are only 463 out of 25,843 primary health care PHCs in the country, with the minimum number of required skilled birth attendants. The Executive Director of NPHCDA, Dr. Faisal Shoaib, said this at the official launch of Community-Based Health Research Innovative Training and Services Program. Faisal stated that there is need to close the gap and retain the quality, adequacy, competency and distribution of a committed multidisciplinary PHC workforce, which includes facility outreach and community-based health workers support. In sport, Manchester City yesterday delivered a relentless performance laced with outstanding quality to overpower holders Real Madrid and reach the Champions League final against Inter Milan in Istanbul. City had lost two previous semi-finals to Real, but now stand one step away from claiming the trophy at Etihad Stadium. Real skipper Thibaut Courtois performed heroics to save two Erling Haaland's headers early in the first half, but he was powerless to stop Bernardo Silva's close-range finish after the Portugal midfielder scored a looping header for the second 8-in of Eder Malicio's 14 minutes from time the celebration started. Still in sports, Coventry City has found a way past Middlesbrough in a semi-final second leg to reach the Championship playoff final and keep alive the hopes of a Premier League return after 147 goalless minutes across both games in a tension-gripped tie. Playmaker Gustavo Hammer delivered an outstanding finish to ultimately settle the contest. Reports say 8 minutes of added time again prompted the Borough roar and goalkeeper Ben Wilson to be alert to tip Isaiah Jones' searching center over, while Archer was offside when he hit the bar with a late effort which led to Sky Blues clinging on long enough to book their Wembley spot. According to reports, Coventry City will be facing Luton Town in the showpiece decider at Wembley on Saturday, May 27. On our entertainment news, renowned singer, songwriter and photographer T.Y. Bello has released a new body of work titled Heaven Has Come. Reports say the album is her 6th studio album with 20 tracks featuring some of Nigeria's leading voices in gospel music, 17, and it is available on all streaming platforms. Still on entertainment, the movie series The Real Housewives of Abuja is set to return for a reunion show. According to Showmax, the show will be hosted by a media personality, Aka Nani. Reports say the reunion, which will be in 2 parts, will allow for interactions from the stars of the show, adding that the reunion will premiere on Friday, May 19, with the concluding part on Friday, 26 May 2023. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum TV News at 12. I am Uyai Anyeka, and thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
World Immunization Week is a global healthcare event typically celebrated every year in the last week of April between 24th and 30th of April. It intends to promote vaccine usage and protect people of all ages from infectious diseases. The theme for the 2023 World Immunization Week is the Big Catch-up. Spectrum Television was out to sample diverse opinions on immunization, its benefit, effect, and the myths attached to vaccines.
World Immunization Week is a global healthcare event celebrated from 24th to 30th of April every year. It seeks to promote the opinions on immunization, its benefit, effect, and the myths attached to vaccines.
Immunization Week, usually I always say, like any World Health Day that marks something or promotes something, it's just about bringing that thing to the forefront, top of mind. So Immunization Week is just to remind us that of the efficacy of vaccines thus far, especially once they had started having vaccinations and immunizations for children and everybody across the world. It's just a reminder of how effective that has been and then what we can do going forward. In Akwa Ibom State, we vaccinate our children every day of the week. So it's just a reminder that, that's why I said, so the week, it's not that the week is set aside to vaccinate children. It's something that we're doing constantly, day in, day out. It's just a reminder that of the importance of vaccinations and immunizations. So it's been ongoing.
Immunization is basically introducing little quantities of disease-causing organisms, parts or whole, or it can be an extract, into the host, which is them that identifies these organisms and help you combat those illnesses better.
Okay, immunization, the essence of immunization is to confer on people immunity over a particular ailment. Take, for instance, COVID-19 virus. People are being asked to vaccinate now, so that by the time they vaccinate it, they now have an immunity over the virus, so that even when they get in contact with the virus is unable, to be injurious to their health.
Generally, immunization is very, very vital and important in the health of adaptability to fight the different diseases of which the vaccine or the immunization was given. So there's this old saying that say prevention is better than cure. So immunization prepares the system to prevent the persons from coming down to these diseases. So it is better.
To a layman, if I was to explain immunization, I would say there are those preventive measures or vaccines you take before an illness begins.
Since the introduction of vaccines, statistics say the global mortality rate in children less than 5 years has dropped drastically from 93 per 1,000 live births in 1990 to 39 per 1,000 live births in 2023. In spite of this, many women and families fear immunization. Others refuse to be immunized, while some do not know the age ranges for immunization. We spoke to medical professionals and citizens asking them, it is not enough to know what immunization is. Has your child been immunized? What are the age ranges for immunization?
When I was a teenager, and so
all our children, as soon as they're born, are supposed to get their basic vaccinations.
It depends on the type. We have the ones for children, and most of them, if by 1 year, 6 months, we've completed most of those ones. But there are still booster doses at 2 years and of this immunizations at 2 years and at 4 years. The immunizations that like the human papilloma virus, adolescent girls, tetanus toxoid, adolescent girls, COVID-19, adult children. So it depends on what immunization it is. So there's no age limitation to immunization.
We have immunization for babies. You have it cuts across almost all the ages, depending on what they are being immunized for. Don't forget, babies are more vulnerable to so many ailments. And so from the baby stage.
Actually, for immunization, we say from 0, because there are some vaccines you take from when a child is giving birth to. So from 0 to about 6 years. There are different types of immunizations you take as a child keeps progressing with age. So from 0, we have BCG, that's for tuberculosis and all of that. Then we have the one for hepatitis that is taking around 3 months and thereabout. To a very large extent, it's almost like
from vaccine preventable diseases, allowing them to live happier and healthier lives. However, there's a negative perception attached to immunization. What is the reason for this?
Vaccines, like any other medicine, it's a medicine. It's something you're taking externally into yourself. So yes, they do have adverse effects, but the effects vary depending on the interaction with the individual. So it's not enough to say, I took a vaccine, I had a headache, and then the next person says, I'm not going to go and take the vaccine because I don't want a headache. You might not get a headache. You might not get any adverse reaction, but we just let the children, the mothers, the caregivers know that, well, it's possible that there are certain vaccines that if you give your child, the child may or may not come down with some symptoms. Just immediately you see any other thing, please inform us. And usually on the vaccination card, we have the name and number of the, what we call disease surveillance notification officer. So those are the people that track any adverse effects.
The negative aspect is just the side effect that some persons may have following immunizations. So you can have pain at the sites. There can be pain. There can be some tenderness. Okay, that's pain. Some can have fever. Some can even evoke some reactions. Okay, we have a lot of reactions. Children can have allergic reactions to what is contained in the immunization, and this is person dependent. Okay, so and those ones when you take to the hospital, they are properly identified and treated.
There are some resistance by the populace in vaccination because of the so many false rumors people had about vaccines. For instance, some people said if you take vaccines, you may turn to chimpanzee. So many stories have been said about the vaccine. But what is surprising to me about the vaccine is when the false story emerges, it spreads too fast. Everybody gets to hear about it. Most of these false stories has been debunked scientifically. They have given scientific proof that yes, this that was said, look at why it can occur. That was said, look at why it can occur. The other truth part of it don't spread as fast as the false part, and that is why, and that could be seen in the number of people that are being vaccinated because of the so many stories that I've read about its consequences. But I want to tell you that so many people are vaccinated. Some are vaccinated up to 2 years now, 1 year now. None of those people, including myself that are vaccinated, have witnessed any of those myths about the vaccination.
Regardless of these circumstances, there are 3 common vaccines in Nigeria. The 3 vaccines include BCG against tuberculosis, polio vaccines, pentavalent vaccines containing vaccines against diphtheria, pertussis and whooping cough vaccines, tetanus vaccines, hepatitis B vaccination. However, did you also know that most community pharmacies are free vaccination points?
Most of the community pharmacies in the state has been trained, and then the advantage of the community pharmacy is that you could actually vaccinate at all times. The community pharmacy is always open, almost on every day, particularly up to weekends. And so you could walk in on a Saturday or Sunday and get yourself vaccinated. And so having the such services in the community pharmacy is for the benefit of the populace, so that they can have at least convenience of accessing health care at their own time.
It is safe to say that efforts have been made. Is the result commensurate with the effort? The big question is, why do people refuse to be immunized, and how do we get more people to be immunized?
Well, it's sensitization, community sensitization. You don't stop doing, you keep doing it. You see, the more you sensitize a community, the more the acceptance of it. So it means if someone comes to the hospital and has an adverse effect, a side effect, you should have that primary health care center, that institution must have good ways of managing or referring, as the case may be. What happens is that when parents come and their children have these things and nothing is being done, the remaining people may likely not come.
We usually go from door to door for immunization programs, and the occurrence is where you go to some places and the mothers will be like, "Dad, no, what will happen if the child is not vaccinated, if he's not immunized?" Try to talk to the dads, because the fathers are like strongholds mostly. So talking to the parents, showing them, like, I feel like most times physical pictures make people understand things. Yes, so show them pictures of children maybe who have meningitis, measles, because we're not.
The north, over there, their level of education is very low, which means our government have to still do more to make sure the citizens are educated. Making education a right and not a privilege in the country will go a long way, because if they understand what you are saying and the advantages of the immunization, they are free. People are skeptical because, again, our government have not been in the business of delivering to the citizens those basic things they are supposed to deliver to them. Now they now see you are bringing this free, they suspect it. Like in the north, they will say they want to reduce their population with the immunization that they are giving them. Maybe because, again, the government have not been doing the...
In essential immunization, if you are scared of the negative effect of immunization, the benefit outweighs the risks. For instance, vaccines lessen the chances of getting sick, and vaccinations at the right time can help in activating the immune system without harming the body.
It reduces disease burden, okay? Now, reducing the disease burden means you spend less money on an ill child. The child is not out of school. If it is for adults, something like cancer of the cervix is easily preventable by immunization. Like the COVID-19, it reduces the mortality from COVID-19 infection.
You cannot really compare the positive to the negative, because the positive, overwhelmingly outweighs the negative. Taking a vaccine, someone that takes a vaccine for any ailment stand 100% better a chance than somebody that didn't take it. And so the benefit outweighs any risk at all that may be associated with it.
Hitherto, everyone is advised to be immunized, especially children, so they are shielded from avoidable diseases and we can build lasting protections in our communities. Meanwhile, the citizens and medical practitioners are advising everyone to get immunized to improve the quality of life.
Definitely, I would like to encourage the nursing mother to subscribe to the immunization treatment because it's very good for the health.
It's very bad rejecting immunization because it's also good for your baby health.
Oh, the message is, please, when it comes to your vaccinations and immunizations, please go out there, avail yourself of what is there for you at the primary healthcare facilities. Usually the vaccinations that we have, they come through the primary healthcare development agency pathway. So from the national primary healthcare, they send us the vaccines. And we have a very good cold chain system that from the state store, it's sent to the local governments, from the local governments to each of the facilities. So you have nothing to fear. Once the vaccines are there, please go and take your vaccinations, and they're free. They're actually free. Those vaccines are very, very expensive, and immunization, they're spending so much money for us. So when they send it to us, and it's not just something that they're throwing to you, remember it's a global village. What affects us in our little village here in Iran will affect somebody, far away in Copenhagen. It might seem unlikely, but what if somebody from here travels over there with a disease? Or what if somebody from there comes here for some mission? We are likely to interact much more than we think. So if we're safe here, we're safe all over the world. So please go out and take your vaccines.
Yeah, World Immunization Week, a lot of sensitization is going to take place. We encourage those that have not had their normal routine vaccine like COVID-19 vaccine to avail themselves the opportunity. With this reminder, they should go and get their vaccine and be rest assured that there won't be any case.
My advice to people is they should embrace immunization of the different disease. They should embrace it. It will go a long way to keep us healthy. And a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. So that's my advice. Let's embrace immunization.
Okay, for the immunization week, mothers in particular, please, let's take this immunization seriously. Our babies need to be healthy and grow properly. We see babies here a lot. This is mostly a pediatric hospital, and it's so sad when you see those little ones that barely know nothing, fall ill. So I feel like mothers should take it upon themselves to please go vaccinate their child, go immunize all your children on time and at the appropriate ages. Thank you.
Vaccines help reduce the chance of getting sick, and vaccinations at the right time help to activate the immune system without harming the body. Therefore, everyone is advised to be immunized so we can be shielded from avoidable diseases and build a healthy nation. My name is Blessing Dixon, reporting live for Spectrum Television. Enjoy the rest of our programs.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Issues and politics.
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
Security.
Education, health,
Lifestyle and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my lord.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
The rainy season is a period where most regions in the world experience average annual rainfall. Nigeria is characterized by three distinct climate zones: a tropical monsoon climate in the south, a tropical savanna climate for most of the central regions, and a Sahelian hot and semi-arid climate in the northern parts of the country. In southern Nigeria, the rainy season features light rainfall in March and heavy as well as abundant rain in June and July, with annual rainfall amounts usually above 2,000 mm and can reach 4,000 mm to begin again in September and end late October. In northern Nigeria, the rainy season begins in mid-May and ends in September.
Do you have your umbrella or raincoat, rubber shoe, sweater, and blankets ready for the rainy season? Let's find out Nigeria's readiness on the rainy season. I have umbrella, I have shower cap, I have raincoat. I'm prepared for the rain. This rainy season, I'm prepared for it. I have umbrella. I always got my umbrella in case the rain meets me where I'm going to. And I also make sure that whatever I'm putting on is something that I know that can prevent me from cold regarding my condition. For women that don't always carry their umbrella around, I don't think it's a best act, so I think they should carry their umbrella along. Then for the men also, it's the same thing. You can't go out without umbrella now. When the rain it's heavy, you can't go out without umbrella. So I think we should go. It's good to carry your umbrella along. If you don't have umbrella, just make sure that one thing, I don't like people entering the rain when it's falling. So no matter how heavy it is, no matter where you are going to, no matter you are rushing, just try and stay under a shade to make sure the rain stops before you move.
Rainy season in the country is also a planting season, and with the dry season comes the harvest. It is the most ideal time for farmers to plant their crops because the soil is very moist and is able to retain more water. Millet and rice. They also grow a variety of vegetables and tropical fruits such as mangoes and coconuts. However, farmers expect lower crop yields during the wet season due to the abundance of rainfall and low soil quality. They also expect greater amount of insects such as mosquitoes and ants.
They get the chemical when they put for that thing, they pour for the thing when they pour for when they plant now. Because of without the put, if you not put the chemical, something go enter the farm to chop the thing with the plant. So that is why if you want to plant, then go put chemical before you plant.
High rainfall can cause widespread flooding, which can lead to landslides and mud flows in mountainous areas. Such floods cause rivers to burst their banks and submerge homes. Apart from direct rainfall on land, rainfall causes a rise in sea levels, which can lead to flooding. As it rains heavily, the rain needs to flow through a proper drainage system to avoid flooding. This cannot happen if the gutters are blocked. Floods have caused major damages in recent times in Nigeria. It can also lead to loss of lives and properties.
Aside prayers and planting, how are Bible mites preparing their gutters and water channels for the rainy season? Let's find out. First of all, I'll go out with my shovel. When the rain falls, I can take out everything, the refuge that is inside the gutter.
First of all, try as much as possible not to pour empty waterproof sachet water the rest of the papers inside of it, so that they can allow for free flow of water inside the gutter. And I try to prevent people throwing dust waste into the gutter as much as possible. If we make our own environment better, it will be better for the state. I think that if I be able to clean my surroundings well, the state will be better at large. My advice to people is that don't throw something into the gutter. Make sure that your surrounding is clean, very clean. If I make my surrounding clean and other people will make their surrounding clean, we'll have a better Akwa state and a clean Akwa.
The gutters, one thing I know along the road when the rain falls, like this area where I am, water doesn't gather on. But other places which I've had but I've not seen, water gathers a lot. Like you can see now, the gutter is not clean. So even when rain falls, it doesn't even feel stagnant. It's just there. So like after like 30 minutes or 1 hour there, but we as citizens, we also have our part regarding our rescue. Like where I stay, it's not flood. But what I noticed my landlord does, something about shovel and remove the dirty from the gutter so that mosquito will not disturb them. Those that always drop things inside the gutter, they should not drop it again because it is rainy season, so that it will not affect people, really, especially those that live around the main road, so that they will not contact any disease from the gutter.
Roads are generally wet as a result of the rain and other forms of liquid that comes with rainy season. According to reports, approximately 1.3 million people die each year as a result of road traffic crashes globally. Report says injuries from road crashes are the leading cause of death for children and young adults aged 5 to 29 years. In 2020, road traffic crashes alone killed 5,574 people and made 33,311 people in Nigeria, while in 2019, 5,483 people died and 35,981 were injured. In Akwa Ibom State, reports from the Federal Road Safety Corps says 55 road crashes had been recorded between January and July 2022, as against 43 crashes and 16 fatalities recorded during the same period in 2021 due to lack of safety and precaution on the road.
It's important that every driver understand driver who is driving within this period to be able to understand and have certain safety measures put in place. Particularly, we need to talk about the area or the aspect of the lighting systems of the vehicle. You will understand that while you are driving, even though it is not ready before you set off at home, it's important that you will have it at the back of your mind that it's not burning as you get along the way. So for that reason, it's important that you are able to check and be sure that all your lighting systems are in place, they are functional, they are working, such that you don't go to roads and where it starts raining. Because you know when it starts raining, vision will be impaired, you don't have that clear visibility to be able to fly as usual. But you need to apply extra caution. That's why we say it is driving without special condition. Because an extra caution will be required, and one of which is to have the lighting system properly working. And then we also need to check and be sure that you have a functional wiper. That's very, very important. Unfortunately, we've got to see some drivers that rather than using their wiper where it is ready, they rather use the house. That is very, very important. We also need to be sure that we have good tires. You understand that where it is ready, you need a very good tire that will be able to make a very firm and strong with the surface of the road. This period, like at starting, is a period that we are going to be experiencing more heavy rain and downpour at a very higher frequency. So we want to enjoy all motorists and general road users generally to be extra caution this period while flying safety. And if that be the case, so we are expected to do everything within our power and reach to ensure that we ensure our safety on the road. So in case you get to go, please be mindful of how you use the road.
Also, the rainy season comes with different health issues. The cold weather gives numerous people health problems and increased incidence of malaria and other diseases that are commonly spread to other people. During the season, the change in weather temperature greatly affects water temperatures. The water becomes much colder, especially in the mornings after rainfall. Dr. Ikemini Udi speaks on the various diseases that commonly occurs during the season and their preventive measures.
This happens during the rainy season because during the rainy season you have a reduced immunity. So people that are susceptible, mostly children and maybe pregnant women and those that already they have other infections. So with that their immunity is reduced. So the severe cases, you see them having discoloration of the eye or jaundice, and then generalized weakness. The big containers that stores water for a long time. So that would serve as a breeding point for mosquitoes to breed. But then during this season, people don't like sleeping under the mosquito nets. I tell you, it's very good for the diarrheal disease. We should try to have personal hygiene. When you're preparing your food, that flies, dirty water, and other things can lead to you having diarrhea. So you try to prepare your food in a clean environment and wash your utensils. And then another major thing that helps during this rainy season is hand washing. Try to wash your hand before you touch them.
And clean drainage is the key to problem-free rainy season. My name is Esther Otoyo. Enjoy the rest of our programs on Spectrum TV.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. We cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola. Who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive. To 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories, and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Malaria, a silent killer, destroying dreams and limiting many people. In a bid to eradicate malaria, the world commemorates Malaria Day to raise awareness about the mosquito-borne disease and examine efforts towards the prevention, elimination, and control of the disease. This year, 2023, the World Malaria Day theme is Time to Deliver Zero Malaria, Invest, Innovate, Implement. It is a call to implement the currently available expertise on causes, effect, and preventive measures ahead of the World Malaria Day.
The world commemorates World Malaria Day to raise awareness about the mosquito-borne disease, as well as examine efforts towards control this and effects ahead of World Malaria Day.
Malaria is an infection caused by a parasite, the Plasmodium. Commonly around us is the Plasmodium species, where there are many species, but in Africa, in Nigeria, the commonest species is Plasmodium falciparum.
Malaria is actually a sickness caused by a parasite, mosquito parasite mostly. If you've been bitten by a mosquito continuously, you will definitely come down with malaria.
Primarily, it's caused by a vector. The associated symptoms comes. So when we talk of malaria, it's caused by a parasite called Plasmodium, And where can you find the plasmodium? The plasmodium could only be found or harbored by a female Anopheles mosquito.
Simply put, malaria is a disease that is associated with fever, chills, shivering, headache, loss of appetite, and more.
People treat malaria in different ways. Some do self-medication, others go herbal, while some visit the hospital. The twist here is, with the level of treatment, malaria is still a major public health challenge in Nigeria, despite substantial efforts to reduce the prevalence and impact of the disease. Spectrum Television got diverse responses from citizens on why malaria lingers despite efforts put in place to eradicate it.
Going for tests, since it's Nigeria, it's only when the disease starts that's when you go for tests. You can't just go for tests when you don't have any.
I don't believe in them because they don't work for me. People have different ways of belief, but for me, I treated my own through using the prescribed malaria drug.
I normally have malaria. Normally, for malaria, it depends on people's immunity. That can determine how often someone will have malaria. But for me, I think I treat malaria once every 3 months. Sometimes because of environment and the mosquito around here.
We complain of the Anopheles mosquito being the primary cause of malaria. However, how well do we take care of our surroundings to prevent malaria?
For me, I take preventive measure, like my house, I use mosquito nets, and I also it doesn't work all the time, I would say so.
I don't think I have any malaria in my life before because I do treat myself and I keep my environment very neat.
I do try my best to, keep my surrounding clean, avoid having stagnant water, which is actually what they breed on. Then fumigate.
I make sure my house is okay, like use the right insecticide and then cover myself if I'm outside the house, maybe coming to night class to read. Then make sure I protect myself from mosquito bites.
If you live in a places where there are gutters and stagnant water, you try to clean them, clear your environment, bushes, mosquito breeds there, lays egg, and then the egg grow into larvae and all of that. So you clear water, you clear your gutters.
For us, prevention plays more pivotal role than treatment. Where do you find these mosquitoes? You find them where they are wide in other places around you. Then how else do you even prevent? Let's assume where you are living or where you are staying, you don't have control over the bushes around there. Even where they have stagnant water, what do you do? By introducing oil into that stagnant water, it will, because the plasmodium have stages. The larva stage of the plasmodium will not be able to survive it in a water that any kind of oil is being introduced. Assuming there's a stagnant water and you cannot pull the water out, you could introduce, so even if it's a condensed oil or any kind of oil you have, it will distort the metamorphic process of the plasmodium.
There are a lot of measures that can be put in place in the prevention of malaria. Most importantly is making sure we avoid stagnant water around our vicinity, in our environment. Another measure too is to take care of the refuge dumps, because you discover that wherever there is refuge, on the ground especially, there are going to be pockets of water around there, and those pockets of water will serve as stagnant water that will aid in the life cycle of breeding mosquitoes that will eventually become the vector for plasmodium.
Statistics
for herbal treatment. No, I do not subscribe to herbal treatment. From my understanding, most herbal treatments for malaria are not scientifically proven. Yes, so I feel like most of them are just plenty mixtures that are not measured and all of that. So I feel it's very dangerous.
I actually don't subscribe to herbal treatments, and my reasons are this. You see, when we claim that this was handed over from father to son, and it has been generations behind, I agree. But you also understand that in those times, those were the available medicines. Now, technology has come in. I tell people, why is it that when you want to go to Abuja, you don't start trekking or you start using your bicycle? That was the means of transportation then. But now we have planes that can land you in Abuja in 45 minutes to 1 hour. Secondly is that most of the people who sell these drugs, it's part of hustling to make money. And then, what is the dosage? Say 1 cup, is it a big cup or a small? It's a big problem. So I discourage herbal medications. Now, there are now herbal medications that has gone through NAFDAC approval. They have done research on it, and they have seemed to be functional. In fact, the other day I saw a bitter leaf in capsule. Do you understand? And I think it had NAFDAC approval. I'm not so sure, but see, there are drugs that are being approved for use, and they are herbal medications, and they are fine. But the one that you just go, someone will tell you, drink, give you 1 gallon, and you drink. I don't subscribe to that. And the reason for self-medication, one, I think, is largely ignorance. We feel that we know when we do not know. Secondly, is the high cost of healthcare. I'm aware that Akwa Ibom state government is trying for health insurance. We already have a national health insurance. How many people are on it? Can the least of the least, the poor of the poor, are they part of it? So this makes you, when you look at going to stay in the hospital, then another thing is the long queues in hospitals. Like a state like ours, we have only 1 tertiary institution. So you expect that when you come, you see a large number. So those long queues and self-medications.
There's nothing so much wrong with herbal treatment. But what happened is the dosing of those herbal treatment. Don't forget, there are some herbal treatment now that now has NAFDAC number. Like we have preliminary experiments on it, and they have approved it for use. Now those herbal products are standardized because you can tell the quantity to be used and how many times it could be used. But the herbal preparation I may not subscribe to are those ones that have not been subsidized. That is, the dosing are not uniform. Somebody could come and they say take 2 shots, another person come take 3 shots, and so there is no formula to it. Those ones could become injurious to the person, and then there are no experimental studies on them. It's something great grandfathers just handed over to them, and so they continue that way. But for the ones that they have done clinical trial on and find to be fit, then there's no problem on them.
Some died due to self-medication. However, residents have lined eye to it. To salvage the situation, we spoke to a medical doctor on the symptoms of malaria. How does one know that he or she has malaria?
Malaria symptoms, we say everything malaria mimics every other thing. That's why people call everything malaria. So you are likely to have fever, and in that fever, it's more at night. So it's more at night. You can have chills, you feel cold, you can have rigors. You see people that have both cold and they are shivering. You have headache. Headache can be part of it, and can be vomiting. What is peculiar about malaria too is that you have high fever, which is actually worse at night. Malaria fits, the symptoms of malaria most of the time are just symptoms that can mimic every other.
It's going on, but symptoms are mostly fever, and then they get weak